Hey, I'm Tim Jackson, and welcome to The Truth As I Know It. I haven't done a podcast in a while because I kind of lost interest in some of the political stuff that was going on, and trying to find out a better way to get an audience. What I've been thinking though lately is listening to some of the other really good podcasters out there, having a little bit more of a conversation with some of the things that they're saying. So recently I was listening to a podcast, a handgun podcast. Really good guy, like a lot of his tips, and he's really knowledgeable and everything. But some of the things he said seemed really off to me the other day. He talked about profiling, but he wasn't talking about profiling. At first it sounded more like he was talking about racial profiling, which I don't think really works. I think is more the easy way out and the dumbing down of America, more or less. On a podcast later on, he had a guest on who he agreed with, who explained it a little bit more and was saying how it wasn't racial profiling, but profiling that's necessary. Profiling has more to do with behavior than actual race, and that behavior, that race, your visual aspect of the person is only the first part of it, and then beyond that it goes much further into behavior, which that I completely agree with. But when I say the dumbing down of America, it's that a lot of times we have these blanket rules that apply only to satisfy the least common denominator. For example, your coffee saying hot, or toaster saying don't use in the bathtub. It's silliness. It's silliness meant to blanketly cover all the idiots out there that would throw a toaster oven in the bathtub and then claim that they didn't know it shouldn't go there. It's just silliness. The same thing with racial profiling. It's the easy way out. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to do any analysis on what, where, why, or when something is going on. You just grab the Arab guy, which doesn't really make any sense. And by the same token, that's exactly what allowed this last incident with the underwear bomber. I'm not sure if that's the right thing they're calling him now or whatever else, but whatever. Getting on the plane. Just logic and reasoning would have said that there's 10 reasons why you shouldn't let this guy on the plane. But nobody thought about it or questioned it because they're not trained to think. They're just trained to do blanket things, like grab the Arab guy. If they had actually thought about it and said, well, the guy's not wearing proper clothing, go from one place to the other, he seems out of it, he seems, whatever other things apply to it. I'm not going to really get into it completely, but when you look at the articles about this incident, there's so many things that went into it that says, let me grab this guy and at least question him. At least put the questions out there to say, why are you doing this? What's going on here? Where are you going? When are you coming back? Etc. But none of those things were done because it's lazy. It's lazy security work, more or less. One of the things the guys in the Handgun podcast talked about was terrorist. What is a terrorist? And one of the definitions given was someone that engages in war against non-combatants. So when Islamic extremists attack civilians, blow up cafes, schools, workplaces, bridges, etc., they're terrorists. Completely agree. There's no ambiguity about that. I think if you're not attacking a military target, then you're a terrorist. By that definition, many people have engaged in terrorism, regardless of race, creed, or color. It's going on in India, and Africa, in Europe, here in the U.S. U.S., for example, the biggest and ongoing, apart from legalization of slavery, apart from the legalization of slavery and the genocide or the attempted genocide of indigenous Indian population, you have the KKK, who I find it hard to argue that they're not terrorists. I don't understand how you would justify that or whatever else. And all those things all the things that happen with America in the past and the present towards that vein have all been done more or less under Christianity. So to attach Islam and make Islam synonymous with terrorism is wrong as well. And I'm not Islamic, nor am I a Rastafarian for that matter. I am a Christian. But I've also seen how people bend religion, regardless of what their religion is, to fit their purpose because they're negative and power hungry and see an opportunity to do so. So an opportunity to grab power, they twist the religion, twist the tools at their disposal to put forth their message and use and use some semblance of a religious text to validate it, when honestly it doesn't. Another form of terrorism as well that's going on is the America bombing Japan. You know, the nuclear weapons that were set off at the top of Japan were set off over civilian targets, and that's a form of terrorism. If they attacked a military base, it'd just be one more military engagement during that campaign. But that's not what they chose to do. They chose to get the largest wow effect by destroying, major cities, and it had the desired effect, but it's still terrorism. And I think to call it something else would be wrong. But by the same token, this is my country, and I want it to be as wonderful and great as possible. So I'm look more forward to doing positive things, learning from our mistakes, and going in a different direction. Another thing that I think is interesting, not necessarily pertaining to the Handgun Podcast, but just in general, is that a lot of people are against people criticizing America. I love my country. I don't want to live anywhere else, truthfully. But at the same time, I don't think that me saying that we should be better at this or better at that has to do with me not loving my country or not wanting to be here. If you say, for example, a heavyweight fighter is the best in the world, he'll only be the best in the world when he fights everyone, when he accepts open challenges, when he continues to work at his craft, when he takes criticism and learns and hones his craft. The same thing with a country. A country cannot claim to be the best without working at it, without taking criticism, without continually striving to be the best. Not just saying I'm the best without putting that under fire, without testing in fair comparison. So for me to say that I'm critical of this part of my country, or critical of that part of my country, is fair. Is fair. I think that we can do better. We have the resources to do better. We should be able to do better in so many instances. But anyway, that's my spiel. This is Tim Jackson, Reader Jackson's favorite grand, saying, just like the host, I hope you're doing better than good and better than most. Peace and blessings.